Welcome to a journey through time and nature. Today, we explore Mount Aso of Japan's most fascinating and mysterious volcanoes. Whether you're here to relax, unwind, or simply enjoy a story about history and nature, this is the perfect video for you. You can listen while working, before sleep, or during a quiet moment of the day. Aso is not just any volcano, it's a giant that has shaped the landscape, influenced cultures, and even holds secrets of ancient myths. But is it truly at rest, or is it quietly waiting for its next awakening? Let's embark on this journey together, at your own pace, with a calm and immersive storytelling experience. Sit back, close your eyes if you like, and let's begin. All about Mount Aso, from myth to modern day. Episode 1, The Birth of Aso and Its Legendary Origins. Part 1, Introduction. Deep in the heart of Kyushu, Japan, lies an ancient giant, Mount Aso, a massive caldera, breathtaking landscapes, and a history of eruptions that have shaped entire civilizations. But did you know this? Very mountain was once believed to be the home of gods. And what if I told you that the peaceful villages inside Aso's caldera are living on a time bomb? Welcome to our 5-part journey exploring the past, present, and future of Mount Aso. Today we begin with its birth and legendary origins. On the birth of a giant, how Aso's caldera was formed. Imagine this 300,000 years ago. The ground shakes, the sky turns black, and an earth-shattering explosion creates a gaping hole in the land. That, my friends, was the birth of Mount Aso. But wait, what's a caldera anyway? A caldera is a giant crater, formed when a volcano erupts so violently that the ground collapses. Mount Aso's caldera measures 25 kilometers, 15 miles by 18 kilometers, 11 miles, making it one of the largest in the world. Now, here's the crazy part. Aso didn't just erupt once. It exploded 4 times in what are known as the Aso 1 to Aso 4 eruptions. The last and biggest one, Aso 4, about 90,000 years ago, covered almost all of Kyushu in ash. The eruption was so powerful. Volcanic ash reached as far as Korea and even Yamaguchi Prefecture on Japan's mainland. And today, thousands of people live inside this giant volcanic crater. But don't worry, it's been quiet for a while for now. 2. The Legends of Aso, Myth or Reality. Now, let's step away from science for a moment and dive into mythology. In ancient Japan, Mount Aso wasn't just a volcano, it was home to gods. Aso's guardian god, Takewatatsu no Mikoto. According to legend, Takewatatsu no Mikoto, a powerful warrior and relative of Japan's legendary prince, Yamato Takeru, was sent by the gods to rule this land. He tamed the wild land of Aso, bringing civilization and agriculture to its people. The dragon of Aso's crater. Ever notice the constant smoke coming from Aso's volcanic crater? Ancient people believed it was the breath of a sleeping dragon. To keep the volcano from raging, the people of Aso held rituals and ceremonies to appease the gods and prevent disasters. Maybe that's why Aso has stayed calm for so long. 3. Living inside a volcano. Life in the Aso caldera. Now, here's a question for you. Would you live inside an active volcano? Believe it or not, over 50,000 people call the Aso caldera their home. Why? Because volcanic soil is super fertile, making it perfect for farming. The land of horses. Aso's endless grasslands have also made it one of Japan's top places for horse breeding. In fact, Aso's horses were even used by samurai. In Japan's legendary cavalry units, hot springs, a perk of living near fire. And let's not forget hot springs. Aso's volcanic activity has given birth to some of Japan's best onsens, like Kurokawa Onsen and Uchinomaki Onsen. So while living near an active volcano is risky, at least you can take a relaxing bath, right? Next episode teaser. So now we know that Aso is not just a volcano, but a land shaped by gods and nature. But here's the real question. What happens when Aso gets angry? What was the most terrifying eruption in its history? If another caldera eruption happened today, would Japan even survive? When Aso explodes, the history of its deadliest eruptions. Episode 2, The Mega Eruptions That Shaped Japan. Part 2. Introduction. Mount Aso, a breathtaking natural wonder, home to lush landscapes, grazing horses, and even relaxing hot springs. But don't be fooled, this majestic giant has a terrifying secret. For hundreds of thousands of years, it has exploded over and over again, shaping the land and destroying everything in its path. What if I told you that one of Aso's eruptions was so massive, it blanketed almost all of Japan in ash and even affected parts of Korea? Today, we take a deep dive into the deadliest eruptions of Mount Aso and what they mean for us today. 1. The 4 mega eruptions of Aso, the timeline of destruction. Let's go back in time way back. Mount Aso has erupted countless times, but scientists classify its 4 biggest eruptions as Aso 1, 270,000 years ago, Aso 2, 140,000 years ago, Aso 3, 120,000 years ago, Aso 4, 90,000 years ago. Now let's talk about the worst one of them all, Aso 4. 2. The Aso 4 eruption, a disaster of biblical proportions. Imagine this: 90,000 years ago, the ground trembles violently. Then suddenly, boom, a massive explosion tears through the land, sending ash and molten rock thousands of meters into the sky. The ash cloud spread over 600 kilometers. Pyroclastic flows rushed across Kyushu at speeds of over 100 km. All life within a huge radius was completely wiped out. The aftermath. Kyushu was almost entirely buried in ash. The skies darkened for years, blocking out the sun. The ash even traveled as far as Korea and China. It was one of the largest eruptions on Earth in the last 100,000 years. And here's the scary part. Aso's magma chamber is still there, just waiting. 3. How these eruptions changed Japan's geography. Aso's mega eruptions weren't just local disasters. They literally reshaped Japan. The land it created. The massive explosions left behind one of the largest calderas on Earth. The thick layers of ash created Japan's unique volcanic landscapes and rich soil. Even today, scientists can find ash deposits from Aso 4 all over Japan. The threat of future eruptions. Aso still erupts regularly, though on a smaller scale. But what if another caldera-forming eruption happened? Would Japan even survive? That's what we'll explore in the next episode. Next episode teaser. So now we know Aso's eruptions were beyond catastrophic. They reshaped the land, changed the climate, and reminded humanity of nature's unstoppable power. But here's the real question. Is Aso still dangerous? Could a modern eruption be even deadlier? If a massive explosion happened today, would Japan and even the world be able to survive? In the next episode, we analyze the current state of Aso, its activity levels, and what might happen if it erupts again. The present danger of Aso. How close are we to the next eruption? Episode 3. Aso in modern times: beauty, power, and hidden threats. Part 3. Introduction. Mount Aso, the sleeping giant of Kyushu. From the air, it looks peaceful, rolling green hills, endless fields of grazing horses, and one of Japan's most famous travel destinations. But don't be fooled, beneath the surface, Aso is alive. And here's a question: is Aso about to erupt again? In this episode, we explore Aso's current state, its recent eruptions, and the very real risks facing the region today. 1. Aso's beautiful and deadly landscape. A tourist paradise or a disaster waiting to happen. Aso isn't just a volcano, it's a whole world of natural wonders. Famous spots inside Aso's caldera. Kusasenri, a vast green plain with cows and horses roaming freely. Nakadake Crater, a place where you can stand right at the edge of an active crater and see boiling sulfuric water. Daikanbo, breathtaking. panoramic view of the entire caldera from above. Every year, millions of tourists visit Aso, enjoying its stunning scenery, delicious local cuisine, and healing hot springs. But here's the thing, all of these places exist inside an active volcano. 2. Is Aso about to erupt? The recent eruption warnings. So how dangerous is Aso right now? Let's look at its recent activity. Recent eruptions of Mount Aso. 2016 eruption, one of the biggest in modern history. Aso's explosion sent ash 11 kilometers 36,000 feet into the sky, grounding flights and covering nearby cities in ash. 2021 eruption. A sudden explosion at Nakadake crater sent volcanic debris flying and forced tourists to evacuate. Current activity scientists constantly monitor Aso, and while it's been relatively calm, there are still signs of magma movement deep underground. Here's a question: what if another major eruption happens soon? What does that mean for the people living in and around Aso? 3. Living next to a time bomb. How do people survive inside an active volcano? You might be wondering, if Aso is so dangerous, why do people still live there? Well, there are two main reasons. 1. Rich volcanic soil, perfect for farming, producing some of Japan's best rice, vegetables, and dairy products. 2. A deep connection to nature and tradition. Families have lived here for generations, believing that the land gives as much as it takes. But here's the catch. Living here means constantly preparing for disaster. How do people protect themselves? Evacuation drills. Locals are trained on exactly what to do. If an eruption happens, gas masks and emergency kits. Aso's volcanic gases can be toxic, so people keep masks and supplies ready. Constant monitoring. The Japan Meteorological Agency keeps a close eye on Aso, issuing warning levels if danger rises. So here's the big question. How much warning would we get before Aso's next big eruption? 4. Could a huge eruption happen again? What science tells us? Science says yes. While smaller eruptions happen every few years, a massive destructive explosion, like Aso 4, could happen again. Here's what we know. Magma is still active under Aso. Pressure continues to build deep underground. Scientists believe a large-scale eruption is not impossible within the next few centuries. Now here's the real question. If Aso were to explode like it did 90,000 years ago, could Japan even survive? That's what we'll answer in the next episode. Next episode teaser. Aso may look peaceful today, but beneath its beautiful surface lies a ticking time bomb. What if one day that time runs out? What if Aso erupts like it did 90,000 years ago? Would Japan or even the world be able to handle it? What would happen to Kyushu, Tokyo, and the surrounding regions? Next time, we analyze the worst-case scenario, Aso's next mega eruption. If Aso explodes like before, could Japan survive? Episode 4. The worst-case scenario, Aso's next mega eruption. Part 4. Introduction. Mount Aso, a beautiful but deadly giant. We've seen its past eruptions destroy entire regions. We've explored how people live inside this ticking time bomb. We've learned that another massive eruption is possible. But here's the ultimate question. If Aso were to explode today like it did 90,000 years ago, would Japan survive? How many lives would be lost? Would the entire world be affected? This is the worst-case scenario. Let's break it down. 1. How big would the next Aso eruption be? Before we get to the destruction, let's answer a simple question. What exactly would happen when Aso erupts again? Step 1. The ground awakens. First, a series of strong earthquakes shake the region. The land starts bulging as magma rises to the surface. Scientists issue the highest-level eruption warning, but by then, it's too late. Step 2. The explosion. Suddenly, boom! Aso erupts violently. sending billions of tons of ash, rock, and gas into the sky. The initial shock wave flattens everything within a 50-kilometer radius. A gigantic ash cloud rises into the stratosphere, blocking sunlight for weeks. Step 3, Pyroclastic Doom. A deadly pyroclastic flow-up, burning avalanche of gas, ash, and rock, moving at 100 kmh, 62 mph, devours everything in its path. Within minutes, all life in the Aso caldera is wiped out. The fiery surge spreads across Kyushu, burying cities like Kumamoto, Oita, and Fukuoka under meters of ash. Now, here's the real nightmare. It doesn't stop there. 2. What happens to Japan? Can Tokyo survive? Aso's impact wouldn't just stay in Kyushu. Let's break it down. Ash fall across Japan. Tokyo, Osaka, and Hiroshima all covered in thick volcanic ash. Buildings collapse under the weight of the ash. Electricity and water systems fail as ash clogs the infrastructure. Airports shut down, grounding flights across Japan, and even affecting Korea and China. Tsunami from the shockwave? Scientists believe a massive caldera collapse could trigger undersea earthquakes. A tsunami could hit Japan's west coast, Korea, and even parts of China. Global climate disaster? Ash spreads into the stratosphere, blocking sunlight worldwide. Global temperatures drop, affecting agriculture and leading to food shortages. The world enters a volcanic winter, causing economic and social chaos. If you think this sounds extreme, remember, this already happened before. 3. The 1815 Tambora eruption, a real-life example. Let's compare this to history's most deadly volcanic eruption. Mount Tambora, Indonesia, 1815. 10x stronger than Mount St. Helens. Ash covered the earth, blocking sunlight for over a year. 1816 became known as the year without a summer. Crops failed worldwide, leading to mass famine and revolutions. Now imagine something even stronger happening in Japan. Could modern civilization handle such devastation? 4. Could scientists predict or prevent this? So here's the final question. Can we stop this from happening? The answer? Not really, but we can prepare. How scientists track Aso today? Seismic monitoring, detecting magma movement beneath the surface. Gas emissions analysis, measuring sulfur dioxide levels for warning signs. Satellite imaging, tracking ground deformation and pressure changes. Early warning systems. Japan has one of the world's best volcano alert systems. Evacuation plans are ready. Emergency supplies are stockpiled. Scientists issue alerts when danger levels rise. But the truth is, if a mega eruption like Aso 4 happens, there's no stopping it. Next episode teaser. So now we know Aso's next major eruption could be the most catastrophic disaster Japan has ever faced. But that raises an even bigger question. Can science help us survive future volcanic eruptions? Are there new technologies that could predict eruptions better? Or is it only a matter of time before we face another catastrophe? In our final episode, we explore the future of Aso, volcanic science, and the battle to save Japan from its next big eruption. The future of Aso, can we prevent the next disaster? Episode 5, Science Verse. Nature How Japan Prepares for Aso's Next Eruption. Part 5, Final Episode. Introduction. Mount Aso, the sleeping giant of Japan. For hundreds of thousands of years, it has erupted again and again, reshaping the land and testing humanity's resilience. We've explored its devastating past eruptions. We've examined the real risks of another mega explosion. We've asked the question, if Aso erupts again, could Japan survive? Now it's time for the final question. Can we predict the next eruption? Could new technology help us prepare? Or is there a way to stop a volcano before it destroys everything? This is the battle between science and nature. Let's begin. How scientists track Aso's activity today. First, let's talk about how we monitor Aso. How do scientists know when a volcano is getting ready to explode? Japan has one of the most advanced volcano monitoring systems in the world. Here's what they do. Seismic monitoring, earthquake detection. Before a big eruption, magma moves underground, causing small earthquakes. Seismographs detect even the tiniest tremors, warning scientists of possible danger. Gas emission analysis, sulfur and CO levels. Before eruptions, volcanoes release high amounts of sulfur dioxide, SO, and carbon dioxide, CO. By tracking gas levels, scientists can predict eruptions weeks in advance. Ground deformation tracking, satellite imaging. If magma builds up under Aso, the ground literally swells. Using GPS and satellite technology, scientists track these movements and issue alerts. Right now, Aso is being watched, 247. But does that mean we can stop an eruption before it happens? Let's find out. 2. Can we prevent a volcanic eruption? Theories and experiments. Now, here's a wild idea. Could we actually stop a volcano? Scientists have been exploring ways to prevent or weaken eruptions. But the truth is, it's really hard. Theory. 1. Releasing pressure before an eruption. One idea is to drill into the volcano and release gas pressure slowly before it explodes. But drilling into an active volcano is extremely dangerous and could accidentally trigger an eruption instead. Theory number 2. Cooling the magma with water. Some researchers suggest pumping massive amounts of water into the magma chamber to cool it down, but this would require millions of tons of water, and we don't even know if it would work. Theory number 3. Nuclear bombs to stop an eruption. Believe it or not, some have even suggested using nuclear explosions to disrupt magma flow, but this would likely make things worse and cause an even bigger disaster. So, while stopping a volcano sounds cool in movies, in reality, it's almost impossible. 3. The best solution: disaster preparedness and early warnings. If we can't stop an eruption, then the best thing we can do is prepare. Japan is already one of the most disaster-prepared countries in the world. Here's how they handle volcanic threats. 1. Real-time alert systems. The Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, issues volcano warnings to the public. Alerts are sent to phones, TVs, and radios, warning people to evacuate. 2. Evacuation plans and shelter. Towns around Aso have detailed evacuation routes and safe zones ready. Schools, hotels, and even train stations have volcano shelters in case of emergency. 3. Emergency supply stockpiles. The government stores food, water, gas, masks, and medical kits in high-risk areas. Residents are trained to keep emergency backpacks ready at all times. So even if Aso erupts again, Japan will be ready. 4. What does the future hold for Aso? Final predictions. Now, let's look ahead. What does the future hold for Aso? Short-term future, next 10 to 50 years. Small eruptions are likely to continue every few years. Scientists will keep improving volcano prediction technology. Long-term future, next 1,000 years. Another massive eruption like Aso 4 is possible in the next few centuries. But with better monitoring and evacuation plans, we may prevent major loss of life. Final prediction. Aso will erupt again. That's 100% certain. But Japan is more prepared than ever before. With science, technology, and preparation, humanity can face nature's fury and survive. So the real question isn't if Aso will erupt. It's when. Ending. Series conclusion. And that's it, folks. We've completed our 5-part journey into the past, present, and future of Mount Aso. We've learned about Aso's legendary birth and ancient myths, its catastrophic past eruptions that reshaped Japan, the real dangers it poses today, and how people live with it. The worst-case scenario. What happens if it explodes again? And finally, how science and preparation can help us survive. So, what do you think? Will technology ever allow us to stop a volcanic eruption? Would you live inside an active volcano? And what's the next great natural disaster we should cover? Tell us in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And as always, stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.